Every day, the Department of Justice shows us that they want to bring more people into the criminal justice system. You can just click on the news icon right there and look at all of the people every day, many of whom consider themselves honest citizens that never would have expected they'd face challenges with the criminal justice system, now have to deal with government investigations, pretrial proceedings, pre-sentence investigation reports, sentencing hearings, the prospect of imprisonment, and then recalibrating their lives. And that's why it's so important to think about mitigation strategies at the earliest possible time. I like to dissect some of these articles here just to kind of give some context to what transpires. And here is a press release from Friday, June the 11th. That was from a few days ago. But I thought it was important to go over it because of the nature of the charges with the COVID-19 relief fraud scheme. It says 2 charged as co-conspirators for nearly $1 million of COVID relief fraud scheme. A New York man and an Oklahoma woman were arrested Wednesday in Buffalo on a criminal complaint. So it's important to understand what these words mean. A criminal complaint is a charging instrument in the federal system. So most of the time when investigations begin, prosecutors will convene a grand jury, and the prosecutors will ask the grand jury to issue an indictment. That is typically what we hear. A criminal complaint is a charge that takes place before there is a grand jury and indictment. And if somebody can negotiate a plea before an indictment is filed, they may put themselves into a better position. In this case, the criminal complaint was filed in the Western District of New York, and it charged the people for their roles in fraudulently obtaining and laundering nearly $1 million in funds from the COVID-19 relief Paycheck Protection Program, PPP. So we want to know, really what do people really face when they come into a situation like this? And how do they get into a situation like this? And how does the investigation even begin? Well, according to this document, from May 2020 through October of 2020, Adam Arena of Buffalo and Amanda Gloria of Altus, Oklahoma, conspired to fraudulently obtain and misuse a nearly $1 million PPP emergency relief loan, which they got through the SBA. And this loan application contained materially false representations and certifications about Arena's business and how the loan would be used. Materially false means that they intentionally misled people in a manner that their deception caused the loan to be approved. It's materially false. It had a material impact on the decision. Arena is charged with 1 count of conspiracy to commit bank fraud and 1 count of conspiracy to engage in monetary transactions with criminally derived proceeds, 1 substantive count of bank fraud, and 3 substantive counts of engaging in monetary transactions with criminal proceeds. That's quite a few counts. They charged Gloria with a count of conspiracy to commit bank fraud, a conspiracy to engage in monetary transactions with criminally derived proceeds, also known as money laundering, and a substantive count of bank fraud and engaging in transactions with criminally derived proceeds. So they've already made their initial appearance before U.S. Magistrate Judge Romer of the U.S. District Court for the Western Districts of New York, and the other one went to Oklahoma. An initial court appearance is where they just go up, the court reads the charge, they ask the person how he or she pleads, and they will enter a plea, a preliminary plea. And ordinarily, that preliminary plea is not guilty. Then there is a period of discovery, and after that discovery, there's generally a plea agreement. But if convicted, they face a maximum penalty of 30 years in prison and 10 years for each conspiracy and substantive count. So the 30 years is for a conspiracy, 30 years in prison for each conspiracy and substantive count of bank fraud, and a maximum of 10 years for each conspiracy and substantive count of money laundering. So 30 years and 10 years. Now, of course, those terms are going to be the judge will use the federal sentencing guidelines, but the people should also be thinking about creating a mitigation strategy that will help position them for a better outcome. You can't position yourself for a better outcome if you don't understand all of the proceedings. Like, if you don't even understand how criminal complaints get started, you're prone to make decisions that could put you in the crosshairs of a government investigation. Sadly, you can't use the offense that I didn't know that this was going to be a crime, unless, of course, you're the Attorney General, in which case you can say whatever you want, apparently. But for most Americans, it's important to understand how these cases how the government brings these kinds of cases. So this is what an actual criminal complaint looks like. It's from the United States District Court for the Western District of New York. You can kind of scroll through it to get an understanding. And here's how it starts as a criminal complaint. I, the affiant in this case, state the following. So this person is making an accusation to a federal judge, or generally a magistrate judge, to bring the count. And the affiant in this case, I believe, is going to be an FBI agent. Let's see what he says here. There's the affiant signature, Chad Altrip. Let me see if there's his affidavit. So in this affidavit, he is stating what he believes to be true, and he's making this statement under the penalty of perjury. He's making it in the state of New York in Erie County. Chad Altrip is the FBI agent's name, and he says, I am a special agent with the FBI. I'm currently assigned to this place. We know who he is. He talks about why he investigated these people. He tells us, I'm not going to give you everything that I know, but this is an affidavit for the limited purpose of establishing probable cause. In order to bring this case, they've got to establish probable cause. But he's saying he's got a lot more under his sleeve that he will reveal later. He said he only sets forth the facts necessary to establish probable cause. And so then he tells them what he learned through his investigation to bring these cases. And here we have it. From at least around May through at least around October. So what's that? May is June, July, August, September, October. So over 5 months, these people engage in, or the government alleges these people engaged in a scheme that is going to have a material influence on the rest of their lives. Of course, everybody remembers that the pandemic struck last year in the spring. The government released a massive amount of money that was really super easy to get. And when that money got released into the country, so anybody could apply with very little documentation, people like Arena and Gloria, or Adam Arena and Amanda Gloria, very likely decided to try and get some of this money, especially when they learned it's PPP and the government would forgive the money as long as they used it for legitimate purposes. But because there was so little documentation, it left a lot of room for people to go after funds really easily. These are probably people that consider themselves honest. They probably would not consider doing another type of a crime, but when the crime is so easy that they're just sitting in front of their computer and they can fill out a form, and they fill out a form, and then a pile of money flows into their bank account, well, the temptation can be pretty bad for a lot of people, and they don't recognize the penalties. But the penalties are extraordinary for these people. I have no doubt that as the owner of 88 Auto Group and Wild West Trucking, these are probably hardworking people that have never had $1 million in cash dropped into their bank account. And of course, when they got that money, they made some bad decisions. They purchased some vehicles, but they weren't purchasing Lamborghinis and so on. They were just purchasing, I think it said Chevrolet trucks and so on. But look at here, application by submitting these documents to Bank One. So, these banks have a duty and a responsibility to respond when they see claims that are incongruous with what appears to be reality. and they may be the ones that launched an investigation. The tax forms and pay reports submitted by Gloria on behalf of ADA were materially false and fraudulent. The documents claim that ADA employed 50 people in 19 with an annual payroll of more than $4.4 million. But that was, of course, fraudulent and not true, because it wasn't even operating in 19 and didn't get reinstated until around May of 20, likely in an attempt to get the loan. So you can see how these things progressed. There's banks probably reporting the money got dropped into their account, $954,000, and then they started transferring money out in $10,000 increments, or buying a $24,000 Western District of New York mailed a check for about $24,000, and then buying trucks and things of that sort. So it's really sad that these people have made some decisions that are going to have such a devastating effect on their life. It's very important that all Americans recognize that in this era of mass incarceration, the government wants to bring more people in to the system. And an individual should be looking at this information just like they look at the news, and develop a better understanding and education of how criminal justice proceedings take place. If somebody has gotten stuck in one of these difficult circumstances, like this, a former construction executive who was just sentenced to 46 months in prison, settles with an industrial contractor. I mean, there's just so many. Former energy broker pleads guilty to insider trading and a kickback scheme. We should probably look at some of these, like Matthew Webb of Tiki Island. Where's Tiki Island? In Texas? For immediate release, Office of Public Affairs. But you've got a lot of people here that are getting roped into the system, largely because they've made some bad decisions, without a doubt. But people make bad decisions without fully understanding or knowing how easily those decisions can lead to a government investigation or a charge for white-collar crime. And that's why our team at Prison Professors is always trying to produce new content to teach and inspire people. I always encourage people, visit our website where you can get a lot of free information. I encourage you to go down here to the consulting menu, where there are a lot of free resources. One of them that is the most popular is this information. I think it's number 15 on the federal sentencing guidelines. We want to understand these guidelines. Here's an article on the basics of the guidelines. Here's the guideline table. Here is information on loss amounts. In this case, we may remember that there was a 30-year statutory maximum. That means it starts with a level 7. And because it involved more than $550,000 but less than $1.5 million, that add 14 to that, that's 21 points. And so they're looking at a sentence that can significantly disrupt their life. With enhancements, these can go higher, they can go lower. It's just important to learn about what a person can do to prepare for a better outcome. I'm Michael Santos, and on behalf of our entire team at Prison Professors, we do hope that you will subscribe to the program, whether it's here, however you're watching this device. That way you can get ringed when we produce new content. Visit our websites and do what you can to avoid the complexities of a government investigation and charges for white-collar crime. If you're an honest person, you want to learn about this stuff long before the government comes for you. I'm Michael Santos. Please subscribe. Thank you.